To everyone who's watching right now, thank you so much for spending your time here. I know it is a commitment of a very valuable resource, the most valuable resource we have, which is our time. And so I'm going to try and justify that commitment. And my goal for this conversation is for you to leave with some very specific, actionable ideas and recommendations that you can take and implement to set yourself up for success this holiday season. Or if you're one of the existing StubGroup clients who is watching, you're going to know even more about what we're doing behind the scenes as we manage your campaigns and make sure that we win holiday season 2023. So we're going to be talking about data feeds, about call tracking, about performance max campaigns, about budgets and target ROAS, all sorts of fun stuff. Before we dive into all that, let's do some intros. So I am John Horn. I'm the CEO here of StubGroup, and StubGroup is a top premier Google partner digital advertising agency. We help businesses dominate Google Ads and other PPC platforms and make money online. And I'm joined today by people from two of our favorite partners that we've worked with for many years. Jacques, do you go ahead first, introduce yourself and your company?
Thanks, John. So I'm Jacques van der Wild. As you can see by the name and here by the accent, I'm Dutch. So I'm from the Netherlands in Europe. Our company, DataFeedWatch, it's an American company. As a matter of fact, it was recently acquired by Card.com. That's also an American company. But most of the people are actually in Europe. DataFeedWatch provides data feed optimization, to the extent that you don't know what it is, stay tuned, because we're going to be talking about that a lot. But we help merchants grow by enabling them to create awesome data feeds that they can send to Google, Facebook, Amazon, and 2,000 channels in more than 60 countries in the world, so that they can advertise and so they can maximize the performance of their campaigns.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jacques. And here at StubGroup, we've been using DataFeedWatch for, I've lost count of the number of years, and we use it for managing the feeds for most of our clients. Love the tool, and it's how I know for sure that you are the man to speak to all things data feed. So awesome. Looking forward to jumping into the details here soon. Jonathan, can you go ahead and introduce yourself and CallTrackingMetrics?
Yeah, absolutely. Pleasure to be here, John. Thank you for the invite. Appreciate the partnership with StubGroup as well. So my name is Jonathan. I'm our Senior Inside Sales Manager over at CallTrackingMetrics. Been here for about 5.5 years. Company's been around for almost 15 years now. And we do what our name says, plus a lot more. So we provide intel and metrics for inbound phone calls for companies, but it's also not just phone calls, right? It's your full activities list of, could be form fills and text messaging and a whole data stack around even website optimization and things like that. So pretty awesome software. That's one side of it. The marketing attribution, tracking your inbound phone calls from your marketing efforts. And then the other side, it's also a voice over IP telephony system as well. So you can use it for your phone systems and remote work and some really cool things. And I think combining us for one grand old solution has been a really popular theme over the last few years with us, is being able to combine all of these tech stack optimizations folks are using. So great.
Awesome. And just like with DataFeedWatch, we've been using CallTrackingMetrics for forever, it seems. Love the tool. We use it for our own business to know what's going on with our calls, as well as for the vast majority of our clients. I want this very much to be a conversation as well. As those who are watching, as you have questions or thoughts as we talk about things, plug them into the comment section there in LinkedIn. I've got them coming through. We'll get through as many as we can. We've already got a greetings from Pakistan here. Shirza, thank you so much for joining. Hope you're going to get some good stuff out of this. And as we go, any questions that come to mind, just plug them in there. We will try to get to them. So let's dig in. Jacques, I'm going to ask you a question first, because product feeds are a vital part of successful advertising campaigns and channel campaigns, especially during the holiday season. And shopping campaigns are a lifeblood of e-commerce businesses during this time. So could you go ahead and just kind of briefly explain what a product feed is for anyone who's not really familiar with that concept? And then could you talk about what advertisers should be doing right now to optimize their product feeds specifically for the holiday season?
Absolutely. If you are an e-commerce retailer and you want to advertise on Google Shopping, on Facebook, on any other advertising channel in the world, then it starts by the channel saying to you, hey, can you please send me a list of all of the products that you want to sell on my channel? So let's say, it's Google, that's channel, because it's the most common channel. So Google will say, send me something, something that looks like a CSV file, and it will list all of your products. And for every product, will say what the price is, and what the description is, and the unique ID, and so on and so on. And then Google knows what you actually want to sell. And that will be the starting point for the campaign, the Google Shopping campaign or the Pmax campaign that you're going to set up in your Google Ads account, or like I said, any other channel. So it's not just for Google to know, but the data is also used to in the very shopping ads that Google will show on the SERP, and the data will also be used for Google to match your products with the search queries that they're getting on the site. So you wanna do a good job there, because if you send bad information, bad data, it's going to impact the quality of your ads. So, as we would say at DataFeedWatch, the feed is the foundation. The art of advertising, that's the kind of stuff that John does. That's going to define whether you're going to be profitable or not. But even people like John need a good foundation on which to build the campaign. So a data feed is basically a file like a CSV or an XML file that you send to Google or the other channels. And the first thing that's important is that every channel has their own requirements, right? So Google, for example, says every product needs to have a unique ID, and you need to send it to me in that CSV in a field called, or a column called ID. And you go like, well, my unique IDs in my shop are called SKU, right? Can I call it that? No, you cannot, thou shalt call it ID, or you will not advertise on Google. And there's like, dozens and dozens of requirements like that. So what we do, we download your data, all of the product data in DataFeedWatch, and then we enable you to create that feed for Google. It's point and click. It's foolproof. I'm not saying you guys are a fool, but it's very easy to do. So we'll make sure that your SKUs will be mapped to IDs and and everything else. So you will meet the format, and they will make sure that you go on to the next round. You get to advertise on Google. So making the requirements is super important. If you don't, either your entire feed is disapproved or some of your products, which is a shame. The next thing, while we're at it, is that you may want to optimize your data for Google or for any other advertising channel. So let me give you my favorite example. I'm moving into what should you be doing right now, preparing for the holiday season, wanting to be successful. The first thing you should do, first of all, you got to make sure that your feed's in perfect condition, right? So most of the time, you do not have all of the data. Some of your products are missing the colors or the sizes. You may be missing some GTINs, etc. So first, get your feed into the right shape. Otherwise, you get disapprovals, waste of time. The next thing you should do is get optimized titles. So my favorite example, you sell a product called 501. That is not a very sexy title. The title does well if you're on the Levi's site in the jeans section, right? So on the website, it's a good title. However, to advertise, it is not, because you want to match as much as possible the title with the kind of search queries that your prospects are typing into Google. So that would be like Levi's, 501, men's, blue, jeans, size 32. That is what people are Googling for, right? And if Google sees a search query that is almost the same as the title, then Google will say, oh, I should show this ad because it's a perfect match, and Google will give you more impressions. And then your prospects will see your ad and they go like, hey, that product is exactly what I'm searching for. So they'll click it. So you get a higher CTR. Once they make it to your website, they're probably going to buy, because it is, the brand, the type, the right color, the right size, and everything else. So you're also likely to have a much better conversion rate. So basically, optimizing and enriching your title is a triple whammy, and it's a perfect example of why you should not just export your data from your shopping cart and send it to Google. You gotta optimize it because it will have a direct impact on the performance of your campaigns. Some of your products are just not profitable, right? Advertising that the CPA is like higher than your gross margin. So you got to figure out which of our products are not profitable and you remove them from your feed. Essentially you're removing them from your advertising campaign, and your good money is going to good products, not to products wasting your budget. And then lastly, you want to use custom labels, either to be able to bid more or less on specific products, or if you're doing Pmax, there's not a lot of bidding going on for you in Pmax, but then at least the custom labels will enable you to break down your feed in like 3-4 different campaigns. For example, again, based on profitability. And John can tell you in great detail how that works and how that little trick will get you a better return. But it all starts with the feed, and that is among other things what's going to drive your profitability this holiday season.
Awesome. Thank you, Jacques. And I've got a question for you from the audience. Carlos asks, quick question for Jacques about feeds. You just mentioned you don't want to send bad data. So could you please share an example of what good data or bad data may be?
Bad data is, for example, well, most of all, it's like missing data, right? So I mentioned color and size, GTIN. Could also be that you got all the product data, right? But you didn't fill out the exact Google category. You get away with it, but it's not that good. You can also advertise without GTIN. It's gonna cost you more, right? Because Google will favor products with a GTIN, and that means that if you want to be on the same level as your competitors that do the GTIN, you're gonna have to bid more. It's gonna cost you money. So those are examples of bad data or missing data. A very concrete example of like bad data. If you start looking into your feed and you start browsing, let's say a few dozen or 100 titles quickly, you'll instantly see some of your titles are just not very good, or they're like very bad, right? You want to weed them out. Check your images, right? You cannot change your images with feed optimization, but you got to make sure that your best images are in your feed. If you do not have good images, remember the shopping ad, 75% of the space is filled by that image. People are, they're visually oriented. They're not readers. So make sure that you got good images in your feed, and you just make a much better impression and will instantly drive your CTR.
Yeah, those are great examples. And you talked a lot about Performance Max too, and how important the feed is for that. I'm going to share some thoughts about Performance Max here shortly and how we're thinking through preparing Pmax campaigns for the holiday season. Before I get there though, Jonathan, I want to bring things over to you for a minute. Can you explain how call tracking software and the other features that CallTrackingMetrics provide, how that works and how that can benefit businesses, especially during the holiday season?
Yes, once I get off mute. Absolutely. Call tracking obviously is beneficial all year long. Folks have tons of marketing budget that they spend and allocated for their advertising, and that's where we come into play. I kind of like to say that call tracking really has this closed loop cycle around your marketing budget. It can really say, great, we're company X and we're spending Y amount of dollars into all these different areas that we're advertising. And for so many years, you really had no idea where your leads were coming from. You may have had a guess, you may have had a business card, but that's where call tracking comes into play. So we could do it in multiple ways. Number one, there's kind of your traditional tracking style, right? Where you take some numbers that might be off-site, off the internet, things like billboards and radio, TV, and you can use different numbers on all of those different advertisements. I have a different number on my business card that's directly to me. So if Jacques calls me later on today, I know that the lead came from my business card and not our Google ads, right? So that's a great way. And number two is we provide something called dynamic number insertion. So a lot of call tracking vendors provide, that's the terminology is DNI, the acronym. And essentially what it does, you place a snippet of JavaScript on your website and we track
the visitors that land on your landing page and checking over 40 different data points of how these visitors got to the landing page. We're going to perform this dynamic number insertion. We're going to display a unique number based on your visitor's travel path. So if I came from a Facebook ad, I'll see one of my Facebook numbers that are on my website. If I came from Google ads, LinkedIn, so on and so forth, you get the picture. The advanced level of call tracking is going to take more of the integration side of it and say, great, now we're tracking the lead from the start of the marketing campaign. We're going to get all of this great session data. What were the keywords used, ad clicks, G-clids, all this great data information. We call that session data. Then we're also going to send all of this contact information, the 10-digit number of the person that called in, into your CRM, things like Salesforce, HubSpot, Zoho, et cetera. That's kind of the next level, and the advanced level of call tracking is cool. It's not just tracking the ads, but what are you doing with that data, sending it to your sales teams? Insert sales guy right here. That's what I love. And then the final, what I call like the next level of all of this, and we could talk further, is looping in automation, conversation intelligence, things like we have an Ask AI feature that came out, right? The big craze in Q2, ChatGPT, and we have an integration with them, and how you can take the call recordings and this call sentiment and have ChatGPT do some really cool things in a faster time frame for you. So that's kind of call tracking in a nutshell, and I think you can connect the dots and how all that can benefit on the holiday season.
I know sometimes we'll get the question, especially from businesses that are more in the e-commerce side of things, of like, hey, I don't have a sales team. Why do I really need call tracking to hook it up? Either someone's going to place a call and place an order or not. And one of the things that we always answer there and say, hey, here's why we want to use call tracking metrics, even if you are an e-commerce company, is because if someone clicks on your Google ad, let's say, and then calls you and places that order over the phone, there's currently no way to track that happened and to know that, okay, this click actually turned into a sale. Here's the revenue associated with that sale. Let's put that into the Google Ads account. So if we're using like target return on ad spend bidding, for example, Google knows, oh, hey, this keyword is working well. Let's get more traffic from there. Without call tracking, there's a complete gap. You don't know. And so you're not optimizing properly. With call tracking, you can close that gap and actually integrate that information back to Google, which I'll probably ask you more about in a little bit in the technical side of things. But that's one of the reasons why we love call tracking metrics so much, not just for lead gen businesses, with CRMs, but also for e-commerce businesses with customer service teams who can take over the phone. So let me segue a little bit here, talk about Performance Max a little bit. I know I promised that, and that is really top of mind for a lot of e-commerce advertisers right now, because it's a bit of a black box in terms of understanding what it's doing and how to leverage it. There are ways that we can crack into that black box, and I'll get into some of that. But there's a lot of questions right now about, okay, how do I prepare my Pmax campaigns for the holiday? They are the top driver of traffic and spend for a lot of e-commerce businesses right now. So they're really make or break it in terms of a campaign type. But there's a lot of confusion about like, what do I do with it? So I'm going to walk through some of the ways that we're thinking about it, some of the preparations that we're making. I'm going to caveat this as well with saying that while there are a lot of best practices that apply to many accounts and many businesses, I'm never going to tell you, hey, here's a one-size-fits-all solution. Every market is different. Every account is different. Every level of competition, every customers, every business's goal is different. So some of the things I say today, you may say that makes no sense. It doesn't apply to my business. That's okay. It's not all going to, but some of the other things I say may be 100% relevant to you and your situation. So don't take everything I say as gospel in terms of your exact situation, but hopefully it'll help you as you think through kind of the framework of decisions that you're making in your accounts. So Performance Max, first of all, budget. What should we do with the budget for Pmax campaigns and just campaigns in general as we get into the holiday season? So what we know is that search traffic is going to increase as we get to Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Christmas shopping, etc. There's going to be more people searching, and they're going to be in more of a purchase intent as well. They're looking for gifts, they're looking for deals, they're looking to make purchases. So the typical budgets, and in particular the typical daily budgets that we have at our campaigns during normal time of the year, are not going to capture all of the traffic that is going to be occurring during this holiday season. So first of all, you got to be thinking through, okay, let's strategically start increasing our daily budgets where it makes sense, especially for campaigns that are already performing efficiently or close to efficiently. And let's start doing that not the day before Black Friday, but now, because as much as possible, we don't want to be making, massive percentage changes in budget of like, oh, hey, day before Black Friday, I'm going to increase my budget by 200%. Well, Google's going to see that. It's going to freak out a little bit because it's optimizing with one set of data. And now suddenly you have massively changed the parameters you can work with. And you may not see what you expect to see, or you may see really poor inefficiency in terms of ROAS when you run it. Now, again, there's always exceptions. There are some times where you do have to make big changes, but as much as possible, start gradually increasing those daily budgets now. Maybe increase, 10 to 20% this week, next week, etc. It's going to depend upon how much traffic you think there's going to be available once we get to Black Friday, Cyber Monday. But start increasing budgets now so that you're not freaking out Google's algorithms, and you are equipped to capture that additional traffic when we get to the sales. The second thing I would say that's very related to budget is bidding and bidding strategies. So a lot of e-commerce businesses are using target return on ad spend as their bidding strategy. They're saying, hey, Google, here's the ROAS I want to achieve. Get me as much as you can within the context of our daily budget at that target ROAS. As we get into the holiday season, there's a couple things that are going to change. First of all, we've got increased competition. You're not the only person who's raising budgets and getting more aggressive. All of your competitors are as well, because they know the same things. So that's going to impact cost per clicks. Cost per clicks are generally going to go up during the holiday season. And at the same time, conversion rates are also likely going to increase because people are in a buying mood. And that's why we're doing that. That's why we're trying to spend more money, because we expect to make more money. And so the conversion rate you get in September is likely going to be lower than the conversion rate you get in November. So from a target return on ad spend perspective, what we are doing for many of our clients is we're starting to gradually decrease the target that's within Google. We're not saying necessarily that we want to get an actual return on ad spend that's lower than what we're getting, but by decreasing that target, that is helping Google to get a little more aggressive with their bidding, to take into account those other factors that I mentioned and make sure that we can capture the additional traffic that's out there, especially while we're increasing our budget as well. They go kind of in tandem. Just like with budget though, we generally don't want to make massive percentage changes in that target ROAS, because again, that can freak out Google's algorithm. So, if you decrease your target ROAS by 100% tomorrow, that's a way more massive change than by 10%, 20%. And Google may freak out and it may take a while for things to stabilize. Sometimes you have to do that, especially if performance isn't where you want it to be right now. But as much as possible, we'd say, change it by 10, 20%, wait a few days, a week, let things stabilize, tweak it again. And obviously, be monitoring the actual results, be monitoring the actual return on ad spend. But you want to be doing this so that you're positioned for when that additional traffic comes through and that buying intent is higher, you're going to be capturing that traffic and capturing those purchases. Those are two thoughts when it comes to bidding and budget across Pmax, as well as really all campaigns in the account. Got lots more to share, but let me circle back to the data feed management side of things. Got a question for you. Product availability is a really big question and point during the holiday season in particular, because you've got a lot of people, on Black Friday, they're ready to make a purchase right now. If your product isn't in stock or doesn't say it's in stock, you might miss out on a ton of sales because people aren't going to purchase that. They're going to go purchase something else from a competitor. So from a feed perspective, what should advertisers be thinking through to manage product availability and make sure that they're sending the right information to Google and other platforms on these big sale days?
Thanks, John. That is indeed a very interesting question. Let me give two answers. First, for very generically, availability, whether a product is in stock or out of stock, is managed in the availability field in Google. So we still see lots of e-commerce retailers. They will think, well, if I don't have a product in stock, I will just exclude it from my data feed, and therefore it will not appear in the advertising campaign. And that's going to make sure that I won't be advertising out of stock products. But that will work on lots of channels, but not with sophisticated channels like Google that have an availability field. So, what happens is Google says, Send me all of your products, and for each of the product, tell me if it's in stock or out of stock. And if it's out of stock, I promise I will not advertise it. If it's back in stock tomorrow, I will advertise it. Easy peasy. But if you exclude it, and then the next day it's in stock, and then you include it, then what will happen is Google on the second day will say, hey, this product wasn't in the feed yesterday, so it's a new product. So I need to check it out and approve it first. And you lose your day, a couple of days. So that's a waste of time, and time is money. So availability field, do not use exclude.
Good point too, especially like you said with when there's a with Google looking at it as a new product, they'll often take up to 3 days to approve a new product. You do this on Black Friday, you just lost, the 3 most important days potentially of your year because we're waiting on Google's system to approve that product.
Exactly. It won't even be back on Cyber Monday in that case. Yeah.
Exactly.
And so, but the next thing is, what do you do with high velocity items, that have a very high turnover and, they go out of stock rapidly, maybe you can restock the next day, but still. So the thing there is to, when using DataFeedWatch or a tool like ours, to increase the number of downloads per day. We all have had that experience, as consumers. You Google something, you see an ad, say, hey, that's what I want. Maybe it's the 501. You click it, you go to the site, you pick the right color, you pick the right size. You say, add to basket, out of stock, And we all think the same thing. We think, you guys are stupid. Why are you making me jump those hoops, click 5 times, and then you don't have it, So the damage there for you as an e-commerce retailer is not so much that you just wasted 75 cents on a click. The damage is I got to hate you, right? I won't be back because you guys are stupid. That's real damage, and it's lasting. So selling products that you do not have is, that's a serious problem. So you increase the number of downloads with your DataFeed tool. That means that, we refresh your Google feed 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12 times, if necessary, every hour, so that if you go out of stock, your ads will disappear from Google within the hour. And that will solve the problem. Maybe not 100%, but it will solve it for like 99%. Also, you want to be sure, you can also create an availability rule that sets products out of stock if the quantity that you still have is like 3 or less. So you even have a buffer to make it to the end of the hour, to finish the hour before the next download is there. Those are methods to make sure that no one will think you're stupid.
I like avoiding stupidity and the perception of stupidity. I like it. I like framing it in that thought. Lucas on LinkedIn, availability is so important for the holidays. This cannot be emphasized enough. 100% agreed. We also have a great question on LinkedIn. We had an agency suggest keyword stuffing in titles. How do we feel about that? I'm going to give my thoughts, and Jacques, curious if you have any thoughts as well. To some extent, it depends what they mean by keyword stuffing. So generally, the idea of keyword stuffing is, putting the same keyword or similar phrase into the product title multiple times to try to kind of trick or at least convince Google that, hey, you really should show our product because it says eucalyptus sheets 5 different times. And so we're more relevant to someone who's looking for eucalyptus sheets than someone who only has it 1 time. The way that I would approach it is I wouldn't keyword stuff with like just throwing the same word, the same phrase a bunch of times into the title, because Google knows that people try to do that. That used to be a tactic way back in the day. Google has, built processes and systems to not care about that. And it looks ugly to the actual human who's seeing your product title, which is really important because your product title is essentially your ad for your product. And while yes, the Google's robots are looking at it to identify what search terms it's relevant to, also your potential customers are looking at it to decide whether it's a compelling title that communicates that you sell what they're looking for and they should click on your ad versus the 5 other ads right next to you. So what I do recommend with titles is use as much of the space in the product title area as possible, but don't just repeat the same keyword and phrase a bunch of times. Think through other aspects of the product and maybe use cases for the product that are important. So for example, we have a client, Eucalyptus Sheets. They sell eucalyptus sheets, and we took over their feed and helped really optimize and add more information. So we don't just say eucalyptus sheet set, but we can say things like eucalyptus sheet set, for hot sleepers, hypoallergenic, organic, things like, the features of the product, which could also be keywords people search. They might search for hypoallergenic sheets. They might search for, cooling sheets for hot sleepers, things like that. And so you can build out your product title with those types of things that probably are not going to be in the product title on your website, on Shopify or Magento or whatever. And yet it still looks like a good, well thought through product title rather than eucalyptus sheets, eucalyptus sheet set, king eucalyptus sheet. That just looks, spammy, and neither Google nor your potential customers will like it. Jacques, do you have any thoughts to add to that?
I can only agree completely with you, John. Also keyword stuffing is like a term from, I'd almost say, like, the 20th century. So, that was then. If you want to do something along those lines, you want to really, really enrich your titles, what you can do is you can go into your Google Ads account to the search term report and then find out what are people actually Googling when they end up buying my products. And that will give you plenty of inspiration to enrich your titles with the words that you now know people are actually entering in the SERP. So, in case you think, I'm not going to do that because I have like 10,000 products, I get it, life's too short. But, at least you can do it for your 10 best-selling products, right? Like today. And like in the remainder of the year, you can do it for the top 10% best-selling products, or, the 2 best categories. So there's, whatever you do, it will have an impact, right? It will help you. So that, getting started is crucial. To finish it for 10,000 products, nobody really cares, but get started.
Yeah, that's an awesome point. Yeah, I think a lot of e-commerce businesses, they can be overwhelmed. Like you said, I can't rewrite my 10,000 titles next week. It's like, well, probably 10 of those products are selling, maybe 50% of the overall unit sales. Focus on those and then do what you can and build out from there. Speaking of overwhelm, Jonathan, question for you. A lot of e-commerce businesses can get overwhelmed with calls during the holiday season, whether that be from people who want to place purchases or, people who placed an order and, now, it's not going to get there in time, or is it going to get there in time? Or, hey, I'm a grandparent and I gave you the wrong address for my grandson. Here's the right address. Fill in the blank. Call volume obviously spikes during the holidays. Are there any specific ways that call tracking metrics can be used, and specifically automation can be used to help with dealing with that influx of calls?
Yeah, absolutely. This is kind of right, piggybacking off the last time I spoke and kind of the AI stuff that we bring and the automation and trigger functionality that we have, functionality. So I think first and foremost, call recordings are free with our service, right? So the old school method 10, 12 years ago, that was the first big wow factor when call tracking came out, was, man, I can listen to these calls and hear what my folks are saying. And great, that takes a lot of time, as you said, the most valuable thing in the beginning here when we opened up. And nowadays, let's use the technology, right? Let's get next level with this call tracking and bring in some of this automation. So one, we want to leverage the call summary and transcriptions capability that we offer at CallTrackingMetrics. So you can take the call recordings itself, and we can basically spit out this summary of the phone call and have a quick 2 or 3 sentence form of what this call was about, right? A step next is keyword spotting. So for e-commerce folks and folks that are selling different products and services, obviously we want to sell higher dollar products as well, right? So you can place what we call keyword spotting rules. So our software will go in and look for certain words or phrases that are spoken in those calls. And then we can tag those calls and place some automation around after what happens when someone says purchase by $1,000, or if it's a certain product that is at a certain price, right? So you can do some really cool things there and then get reporting around what's working. Just a quick pause on this, but what's really cool about that is now you can compare cool, these are the great keywords that are driving sales, or these are the sales words we're looking for. Where did those ads come from, right? And that's where you then say, let's reallocate the budget, put more funding where we need to put it into the ads that are generating the quality calls. That's what this whole journey is about with a call tracking provider like ours. And then the game changer, again, that was kind of recently developed this year, is a feature we call Ask AI. And that's using ChatGPT as well, which is great. And obviously at the top of the line, automation tool around this chat world that we're in. So we can take some really, the possibilities are actually endless, and the basic ones are, you basically can use this Ask AI feature that we built into our software. It pings ChatGPT, and you, the user, Jacques, for example, can go in and create some questions or statements that says, ChatGPT, please go in, listen to this call, and tell me, how did my representative do on the call in regards to sentiment or, performance on the call, good, bad, did they say please, thank you, right? So you can do things like that. And then you can extrapolate on where that can go with the automation around Ask AI and some of the cool things that it can do. So really cool feature. And I think that's a way that's going to help optimize in a short time what a lot of you folks are looking for in the e-commerce world of speed to lead and the last, 35, 40 days of the year here.
And I think one of the ways too that is probably underutilized by a lot of businesses when it comes to the call tracking is when you have those recordings, when you have those transcripts, you are learning what people care about and what they're searching for. And that's a gold mine for new keywords to target. Be like, oh, you know what? I didn't even know people, called my product this or called my need for the product this. Here's a whole new campaign we can run. Or it's like, hey, 50% of the people who are calling, they care about X problem. We should probably say in our ads that we solve X problem because that's what we know people care about. And so you've got that loop between not just, tracking the fact that calls are coming from your advertising campaigns, not just, which is awesome, being able to have like AI quality control and almost sales coaching to say, hey, here's how we can do a better job of handling these calls. But then also, hey, here's how we can directly improve our creative and our targeting strategy in our campaigns, leveraging the data from CallTrackingMetrics.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing how we still find people that we talk to that still use word of mouth. Hey, how'd you hear about us? And write it down on paper. And it's like in this world of technology that we live in, even if you don't have a CRM, you can use our software as a tool that you can create custom fields and go in and mark manually if you need to, or we can have it automated again from that Ask AI feature where it just puts it right in, run your reporting, and you have it all digitally at your fingertips that you can have. But I find it amazing. You still get folks that are, word of mouth. How did we hear about you? How did we find about you? And let's take that human element out.
It's really hard to optimize for word of mouth. You are 100% right. At StubGroup, we actually have call rating team who listens to most of those recordings that we're tracking for our clients, so we can, leverage those insights. Be like, hey, here's what we are learning. Here's those good calls and whatnot. So yeah, so many things to learn from the tracking side of things. We got a question here again from Carlos. We have another question about budget increase based on the holiday season. What happens if a client has set a monthly budget for Google Ads of X dollars and he's not willing to spend more money during the holiday season? Wouldn't increasing the budget make the account spend more than the budget? So I think the way I think about this is obviously every commerce business or any business, doesn't matter if they're commerce, lead gen, or fill in the blank, you're going to have limited resources. You don't have unlimited budget. And so you definitely need to be aware of, here's what we're willing to spend during the holiday season. But you should also be willing to dynamically adjust based upon performance. So this is not, it's not static. It's not, hey, I've got $10,000 to spend. That's all I've got. Go forth and conquer. We can work with that, but you're going to set yourself up for more success if you say, okay, here's, the minimum of what we can spend. And so we're starting to get into it, starting to spend, but hey, as long as we can hit a certain profitability metric, a certain ROAS or media efficiency ratio, we can justify increasing the budget and spending more because we know we're getting profitable dollars. And so we can afford to spend more. So the smartest, most effective advertisers, think of budget in those dynamic terms of not just picking a number, but of saying if performance is, meeting sufficient profitability thresholds, let's keep scaling through the holiday season dynamically. And hey, if we're not hitting those thresholds, then let's spend less. We have to act dynamically, and that's why a lot of businesses partner with agency partners who have the time and attention expertise to be watching that while they are running their own business and dealing with all the other billion fires that come up during the holiday season. So yeah, dynamic budgets is the best approach generally during the holiday season. But if you have a certain budget and that's set in stone for whatever reason, then obviously we want to spend that as efficiently as possible. And you only want to set your daily budgets at a level that will make sure you're not going to spend more than you're willing to spend. And then within that context, try to spend that as efficiently as possible using target return on ad spend bidding and all the other optimization tools that you have in the tool belt on Google and Facebook or whatever platform it is that you're using. A couple other things I want to highlight on the advertising side of things. One big one is ad creative. So as we get into the holiday season, people are expecting sales about Black Friday, about Cyber Monday, about gift giving season, etc. And so you want to be preparing now creative that you can leverage in your Performance Max campaigns, your display campaigns, your YouTube campaigns, your Facebook campaigns, so that when we hit Black Friday, when we hit Cyber Monday, we're telling people, hey, we have a Black Friday special, 20% off, whatever it is. So be preparing that creative now so that you have it all ready to go and all approved by Google when we reach those pivotal dates. And similarly, on the video side of things, one recommendation I want to make is a tool called Billo. So we're using Billo for a lot of our clients, seeing a lot of success. There's other tools similar to it out there. They're not the only one, just happen to be the one that we're using. And it helps you create essentially user-generated content. So you can send a product to an influencer for a very reasonable cost, and they will create a video kind of showing off your product that you can then use as an ad. And we see these be so much more effective than your traditional corporate ad of, oh, here's the pan shot around our product and the beautifully edited. We spent $5,000 to make this video. Now you spend $300 to have someone who looks real and is real unboxing your product and saying, here's what it looks like, here's how it feels. The ROAS on those UGC videos tends to be way, way higher in our experience. And if you want to get those made before the holidays, start on it now so that you have time to get them the product, get the video created and made, and have that for Facebook, have that for YouTube, and so forth when we hit Black Friday and so on. Another recommendation I want to make, it's just super granular related to especially Performance Max campaigns and search campaigns, is when you hit these sale dates. When I say ad creative, it's not just images and video. It's also should be going in and editing your text ads, editing your text assets in Performance Max to say Black Friday sale, Cyber Monday sale, fill in the blank. And potentially you may want to pin those assets as well if you're using responsive search ads, for example, so that Google is going to know to always feature that. Because if you go in, on the day before Black Friday and you put that in there and you're using a responsive search ad that gives Google 15 headlines and descriptions to match through and figure out what works best, well, within one day, they're not necessarily going to realize out of the gate that the text that says Black Friday is going to work best today. So if you pin it, you're basically adding on that manual human layer of knowledge on top of the automation to say, no, I know this is likely going to work best, be most compelling to people because today that's what people care about and that's what they want to see in their ads. Along those lines too, when it comes to let's say site-wide promotions, you can leverage a tool in Google Merchant Center called Promotions to get different things to show up in your shopping listing ads. So to feature a sale or feature a coupon code. But there's a lot of confusion I see advertisers have about how to do this. I just want to quickly walk through. So if you have let's say a site-wide sale, if you make that something that applies during the checkout process, in response to a coupon code, let's say 10% off, and maybe you have a banner at the top of your site that says, hey, use coupon code 10 off for 10% off. And then people add products to their cart, get to checkout, add that coupon code, boom, they get the 10%. You can leverage that as what they call a promotion extension in Google Merchant Center. You can plug that coupon in. You can say, hey, people who use this coupon are going to get 10% off. And then when your ads display, you're going to see underneath your ad a little link that says 10% off. And if you click on that on Google, you'll see the coupon code. And that really obviously makes your ad stand out and highlights that sale. But here's a nuance to be aware of. If you don't do it kind of based on coupon code, based upon the checkout process, and instead you simply say, all right, on the product page, the normal price is $10. Now the sale price is $8. You can't use a promotion in Google Merchant Center for that. What you can do is use this sale price, and you can set what they call a sale effective date. So basically you can tell Google in your feed that for these 5 days, the new sale price for this product is $8. And then in your shopping listing ad, instead of seeing that 20% off banner essentially in your ad, instead you'll see that actual new sales price appear as the price in the shopping listing ad. It'll usually be green or some different color to differentiate it from other products. And so, hey, there's a sale here. And they may also, put a little sale like banner up at the top left-hand corner of the product image. So there are, two different styles of kind of emphasizing a sale, and there's pros and cons of each, but just something to be aware of because, a lot of advertisers just don't kind of understand it. And so maybe they do the sale price and then they're like, hey, how come the promotion is not showing up in my ads? And that's because it doesn't meet Google's eligibility requirements for that type of promotion. Jacques, another question for you. Are there any particular common mistakes that you're seeing people make, especially going into the holiday season, that they should avoid? Any pitfalls they should watch out for?
And the common mistakes are also the most obvious mistakes. They're staring you in the face, and yet you don't see them. So let me just mention a few. What we still see at a lot of companies is that data feeds, that's technical stuff, right? It's difficult, So they call it techie in the company. You guys, fetch my data feed, and that's wrong. It's not like the techie can't do it, but you get two hands, right? And the guy that's managing the campaign with his right hand, it's got to be the same guy that's managing the feed with his left hand. It's like two branches of the same tree. So it's super important that if you are managing those campaigns, or you through John are managing those campaigns, you manage those data feeds as well. So the custom labels that you create are in line with the campaign objectives that you have. So don't let somebody else do it. Don't give it to a tech guy that knows technology but no marketing. Another thing is that Google has a bunch of required attributes. However, they have a ton of optional fields. And I'm a big fan of less is more, except for data feeds. Give Google everything that you have. The more data that you give them, the better they will be able to match your product with the right search queries. That means that more data will will just get you higher quality leads, will get you better conversion rates and what have you. So super important to add as much to your feed as you can. And the third one I'd like to volunteer is, we've spoken a lot about Google. We all love Google. Google is the #1 channel for retailers, no doubt about it. Read our multi-channel marketing report 2023. They're still like the #1. However, there's also Facebook. There's also Bing. There's like remarketing channels. There are affiliate channels. So, why would you stick to like 1 or 2 channels that lots of smaller retailers do? So again, from our report, the number of channels that the average retailer advertises on is 2.7. Let's say it's around 3. So that's the average. However, if you look at what large advertisers do, large advertisers are usually larger corporations with bigger budgets and more people, so that explains, but they will advertise on as many as like 15 channels on average. So that goes to show you may have a fairly profitable business running ads on Google and maybe on Facebook, but you're still missing out on a lot of traffic on other channels. So, To create a data feed for the channels is super simple. You already have the one for Google. The next one up is only going to be simpler, more easy to do. And then if you're able to manage a Google Shopping campaign or Pmax campaign, you can also manage campaigns on other channels. And if not, John and his crew will do it for you. But don't miss out, advertise on your channels.
Fantastic points. Thank you, Jacques. Question, not so much question, comments I see here coming through LinkedIn from Kate. This is going back to when we were talking about call tracking metrics and leveraging insights and automation. She says, you can then leverage that insight to set up voice menus that better speak to callers' needs and even self-serve from voice menus where appropriate. Great point. Jonathan, anything you would add to that?
I would add that Kate is awesome. She's actually on our team, and she's one of our project builders on our professional services team. So she knows exactly and specifically what she's talking about. But yeah, voice menus, a lot of other companies call them IVRs, right? Thank you for calling call tracking metrics, press 1 for sales, 2 for support. Well, you can use these IVRs, just like she's saying, in a self-service format by being able to take customers through a journey, positioning, make a sale, things like that. But yeah, it's great. It's great feedback, and it's pretty wild what her team does to optimize what my team kind of brings in and takes it a step further and builds it for you. So it's pretty cool.
Absolutely. I was playing around with voice menus the other day and seeing how powerful they can be, and thinking through all the different ways we can even better leverage them for our clients. So Kate, thank you for the work that you are doing. Let's see here. Christian says, this is going back to talking about promotions. On promotions, it's a good reminder that you can add promotions to search ads as well using the promotions ad extension. Great point, Christian. Absolutely. In addition to creating promotions in Google Merchant Center, you should also be creating promotion assets within your Google Ads account. And these are essentially an additional piece of text and link that Google can show below your ads, saying, hey, there's a 10% off sale or 20% off sale or buy one, get one, or whatever the case may be. It makes your ad more compelling, makes your ad bigger, pushes your competitors down the SERP, which is always a good thing to do. So absolutely leverage promotions. Jonathan, Jacques, thank you so much for your time today. We are coming up on time, so let's go ahead and wrap things up here. For everyone who has attended, thank you so much for joining. Jonathan, where's the best place if people can learn more about call tracking metrics and reach about exploring your services? So
we're in Severna Park, Maryland. Come on down. No, feel free to go to our website. We have our LinkedIn page, any of our social media outlets, even Instagram. And you can come right to, it shows our website, right? It's in the header, calltrackingmetrics.com. You can dial us at one of our tracking numbers, many of them, 800-577-1872. But yeah, feel free if you're interested. You can also hit me up on LinkedIn myself. And if you do, I'll make sure to get you 1 month of your subscription free waived, even on top of the original month that we give you too. So got a little extra special deal for any of you folks out there that reach out to me specifically from the StubGroup here. So I'm appreciative of it, and feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, and happy to talk to you guys. So thank you for having me, John. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. That's an awesome offer. Definitely go take advantage of that. Jacques, how about you? How can people contact and learn more about DataFeedWatch?
Yeah, John, first of all, thanks a lot for inviting me. I enjoyed the conversation. Anyone interested can go to datafeedwatch.com, and you'll find everything you always wanted to know about data feed optimization, everything you should know. More importantly, it's the place where you can book a demo. So then, in a live share screen call, we show you around, so you know how easy it is to create and optimize data feeds. It's not too late to sign up. It's mid-October, so this entire webinar is very well timed. So we figured, now's the time to get started. Just sign up, and either we'll just set up the feeds for you, or we'll get you an onboarding call. So we'll do the first feed together, and you know exactly what to do and how to take it further. So we'll make things as easy as possible. It's October 19th. Go ahead, find out more, and the feed is the foundation. DataFeedWatch.com.
Build a solid foundation. Jack, love it. Thank you so much. And if you're watching this and you're thinking, hey, I'm not sure about my strategy right now. Maybe there's some things I heard today that I don't know what that means. I want some expertise. I want some help. We'd love to help you with that here at StubGroup. And to get your DataFeedWatch, feed build out, get call tracking metrics set up, get your campaigns either created or take over what you've got running currently, and make sure you're positioned to win holidays 2023. Jonathan, Jacques, thank you so much for your time. Great seeing you both, and
Pleasure.
everyone watching, thanks for your time. Take care.
Thanks.
Thank you.